हाँ रहेंगे ना, हमारे क्लस्टर में बहुत सारा जगह दिखा है, उसी में खेलेंगे.
सगळं मोठंच पाहिजे, म्हणजे किचन मोठं पाहिजे, हॉल मोठा पाहिजे, बेडरूम मोठं पाहिजे, किचन मोठं पाहिजे, संडास बाथरूम पाहिजे.
उसमें स्टाइलिश फर्सी फर्नीचर.
Slums have always been looked at as sort of the blights of the city, as a result of which the people who live in these neighborhoods are also considered the others of the city. At Community Design Agency, we want to challenge the status quo. Housing for the poor invariably ends up as poor quality housing. So we ask ourselves, would any of us live in the homes designed and built for communities on the margins? And that answer needs to be a yes.
इथं लय हलवायला लागले तर आम्हाला पाणी नाही, संडासची नाही, परत पानकळ्यात इथं पाणी साचत, चिखल होतो.
अभी गली में कोई कचरा डालता है, कोई कुछ करता है, तो ऐसे गंदगी फैलती है, बच्चे बीमार गिरते हैं, तो उन लोग को खेलने के लिए कोई जगह नहीं है.
Homes is just not the physical building itself. That is just a logistical issue we need to solve. What needs to be solved for is how do we enhance social cohesion? How do we use design and building to make sure that social capital flourishes so that the communities can strengthen even more?
हे लोक एकमेकांसोबत पहिल्यापासून खूप असं भाऊबंदीने राहतात. किती बाहेर जातीभेद किंवा काही भांडणं वगैरे झाली, जातीवरून पण विरोध झाला, तरी पण या लोकांवर काही परिणाम होत नाही त्याचा. ते एवढं सांभाळून घेतात ना एकमेकांना, पूर्ण परिवारासारखं सांभाळून घेतात.
आप सबका मिल गया इसमें कहाँ किसका? मेरा बर्तन लगा है, तुम्हारे घर यहाँ पे आएंगे देखो.
फर्स्ट फ्लोर लेवल पे बहुत बड़ा टेरेस बनाना, 5-10 लोगों के बीच में बड़ा टेरेस होना, वहाँ पे खेलने के लिए जगह होना.
In Sanjaynagar, the community representatives are a strong cohort of young adults. They work with the residents, translating their needs and aspirations to us and communicating the solutions we propose in response back to the community.
आम्ही या प्रोजेक्टमध्ये आम्ही जेवढे CR म्हणून काम करतो, आम्हाला एक रोल मॉडेल म्हणून बघितलं जातं आणि मुली आमच्या स्पेशली छोट्या मुलं आम्हाला बघून ते शिकतात.
Most low-income communities remain outside the purview of formal banking institutions. We developed a low-cost, non-predatory home loan for the residents of Sanjaynagar. Further, a successful financial inclusion will increase female home ownership from 5 to 50% in the community. The journey from our first meetings with the community in early 2018 to seeing the families move into their new homes in 2022 has been exhilarating. We have been in constant awe of this resilient and close-knit community and their wholehearted dedication to improving their futures.
मुलींना शिकवायचंय, त्यांच्या पायावर उभं करायचंय, गरज नाही पडली पाहिजे दुसऱ्यांसारखी, आपल्यासारखं नाही त्यांना घडवायचं, त्यांचं करिअर चांगलं झालं पाहिजे.
Good day, everyone. So were you able to have a hint on what our topic for today based on the videos that presented earlier? So feel free to engage and give your comments in our platforms and chat box. So to start, I would like to introduce myself. I'm Pam, and I will be your moderator for today. And to welcome you with our first session for this year, IFLA Talk and Share, APR Talk and Share session, will just give you a quick recall on what this series of webinars is about. So Talk and Share is a series of activities aimed to enhance landscape education and connect it with international standards, and to encourage countries to develop their own characteristics of landscape education. So we're here to delve into the world of community landscape architecture and explore how collaborative planning and design can create meaningful spaces. So in order for us to have a better and usable landscape space and design, collaboration is very important. And the most valuable take that we need to hear is from the community itself. Who would be using the space? So for us to better understand this topic, we are honored to have with us our two speakers. So we have Sandino Guinto. Sandino Guinto is a licensed landscape architect with extensive experience on participatory community design, sustainable agroforestry, and social enterprise development. He has 4 years experience as a permaculture designer and trainer working with rural communities and local governments on developing their agroforestry-inspired site development plans. He also has 3 years of experience in managing a social enterprise that deals with waste recycling, clean cook stoves, and urban gardening. He is currently employed as a landscape architect in the Camarines Norte State College. So let's us all welcome Sandino Guinto. Hi Sandino, where are you?
Hi, good evening. Good
Hi, how
evening,
are you?
everyone. I'm fine, thank you. Yes, excited to give the
Okay,
talk and share. Yes.
all right. So for let me just introduce our next speaker and participant, Shashank Mittal. Shashank Mittal trained as a designer at the School of Visual Arts in New York. Over the past decade, he has since worked in various social design contexts in India, blending this training and design with his passion for grassroots development work. He's currently leading partnerships and development at the Community Design Agency in Mumbai, and he has been part of the team that is piloting a ground-up slum redevelopment housing project near Mumbai that is based on a unique participatory design and planning process. He has previously worked on initiatives for alternate livelihoods and women's empowerment in rural parts of central India. Shashank is also an alumni of the prestigious Young India Fellowship at Ashoka University in India and an Acumen India Fellow 2023. So hi Shashank, where are you? Let you show yourself.
Hi, good evening. Hi,
Good
Pam.
evening. How are you?
Hi,
Are you
Sandino.
excited?
Lovely to be here. Looking forward to the conversation.
Okay. Are you excited? Both of you for this discussion.
Yeah, sure. Yes, po.
Okay. So, earlier you showed a quick brief of your video and the projects you've worked on that involves the community. So, can you elaborate further the presented video, what this benchmark project is, and how your role evolved and in this particular project? So just a quick run through. So I think
Sure.
Shashank, you have the Sanjaynagar Slum Redevelopment Project, right?
Yes, yeah. So we've already seen the video we showed was around the project already, but I'll quickly take you through our work at Community Design Agency and what we do. So we're a group of architects, designers. Are you all able to see my screen?
Yeah.
See the slides? Fantastic. I think now it's bigger. All right. So we're a community design agency based in Mumbai. We're a social design practice that works with marginalized communities to help reimagine the spaces where people live, work, and play. And when we say marginalized communities, many times the communities we work with, they don't necessarily know what architects or designers will do or what value we can add to their lives as well. Some other kind of work before we get to slum redevelopment that we do here in Mumbai. To your left, this is what formal public housing looks like in Mumbai. This checks off all boxes for what formal housing is, and we work with the residents and the city to really start to transform these neighborhoods into healthier places for the community to be. We have done work in the safe and dignified workspace as well. What you're seeing here, images are of a project we did about 7 hours east of Mumbai in a small urban town, working with sex workers. And we've also done similar work in New Delhi with e-waste dismantlers, which is a very informal economy, to see how this can be transformed to a more formal process of working. So on to Sanjaynagar Slum Redevelopment Project. In India, really, this is a 2018 statistic which says 169 million people, and roughly that translates to about 34 to 35 million families, live in unsafe living conditions and that's just in urban India. And of course, we're in 2024, the official number, we don't have that yet, but we assume it's much higher. And the issue always is we look at that number of families and we say, the way we think about solving for this is, we need to build 34, 35 million homes. And the result is something like this, where little thought is given to what is around the home, what else makes the home other than just the housing unit. And like I was telling you, these are public housing neighborhoods in Mumbai, one such large neighborhood we work in ourselves. And the living conditions really are appalling. For those that don't even have that, I'm sure in the Asia Pacific region, for all of us, these are familiar sites of what slums and informal communities tend to look like. Often they're on the least desirable pieces of land where communities settle, and over a large number of years, they've made these places livable for themselves. So really the question we're asking ourselves is, what would change in our approach if we said we're not trying to build millions of homes, but build thousands of communities? How would that change financing mechanisms, design processes? What are the questions we would ask ourselves that would be different? So bringing you to Sanjaynagar very quickly, you've seen some visuals of the community already. Sanjaynagar is located in Ahmednagar city, which is about 6 hours east of Mumbai. The community is located, this yellow dot on the map that you see, is sort of surrounded by agricultural land. Again, they were brought here by the city to make space for some development projects in the city overnight 4 decades ago, dumped on what was then relatively undesirable land, was a swamp. The community has lived here for 4 decades and made this place livable really for themselves. And this is what the community looks like today. Our process, which is extremely sort of participatory, getting to know the community, this is how it starts. We spend a lot of time getting to know the community, their experiences, really unpacking what their needs, their aspirations are for their futures as well, not just necessarily their built environment. And also starting to understand what really works in neighborhoods, like in communities and neighborhoods like this. It's very easy for us professionally trained people to go in with that lens and see everything that's lacking here from an infrastructure point, and there is a lot. But also acknowledging what makes these communities resilient. It is these very strong social bonds that these communities, that the residents have formed over the many decades of living together. This is outside in a communal space, the community preparing for a celebration. So just to give you some quick statistics, 937 people living over 2 acres of land. The existing structures that you saw, the temporary, semi-temporary ones, they're 209. And what we've reimagined with the community is building 298 homes here to accommodate all the residents. Again, like I was telling you, very easy to see from our professional lens, of course, what the neighborhood is lacking in terms of physical infrastructure. And it's important to acknowledge that, of course. So our goal with the community was to build a much more healthy, safe, and vibrant community, which started with this participatory process, right down from the neighborhood level planning to planning each building, letting the residents really decide who's going to live next to who's going to be whose neighbor, and then going down to each family's home and asking them the question, what do you want your home to be? And giving them that freedom to articulate, to think, to express. So this is what came out of the months-long process with the residents. this is how the community and us, we have reimagined Sanjaynagar. Buildings designed around courtyards to facilitate that community living, intergenerational spaces, the community center being the heart of the neighborhood, and also accounting for livelihoods that the community depends on. So this is the plan. These are 8 different buildings. And in the first phase, we built this building, which is sort of an inverted L, if you will. The design is to promote health. We have passive cooling in the buildings. During the day, the residents don't need to turn on any lights, except for the summer, they're barely using any fans as well. And our homes are already proving to be 5 to 7 degrees cooler than the outside. The rooftop gardens, in addition to the courtyards, the rooftops are also planned as gardens for utility and recreational purposes. We are installing solar here. There's rainwater harvesting in the courtyards as well. There is groundwater recharge pits, as well as we're planting edible gardens for the community to have access to nutrition as well. So what have we built so far? Very quickly to show you these visuals, which we also saw in the video. These are the first set of 33 homes that we've built. We also staged an apartment to show the community what this could look like. And these are the before and after of Sanjaynagar. So the residents have they've been living here now for about 2 years. We complete 2 years early in March of this year. And they've taken complete ownership of the space. You're seeing all the plantation done around here. We're perhaps the only slum redevelopment project in the country that's worked with landscape consultants to plan this kind of plantation around the project as well. So just to give you a few glimpses and look forward to discussing this more.
Okay, thank you, Shashank. Maybe later we'll run through with. I have questions already,
Sure.
but let's just let Sandino first share his benchmark project, so that everyone can have an idea of each of your sample projects. So go ahead, Sandino.
Okay, thank you, Pam, and thank you, Shashank. So, good evening, everyone. I'm landscape architect Sandino from the Philippines, and I'm here to go through the Divilacan Riparian Buffer Zone, a participative community planning with permaculture and landscape architecture. This was done when I was with the Philippine Permaculture Association and the IPDC in Divilacan. So, first, we need to get to Divilacan. Ayan. So it is very far. It's about 8 hours from the nearest city. So we need to traverse from mountain ranges, rivers across the Sierra Madre mountain ranges through motorbike. So it was quite an adventure to get to the town. So here is the town center. So as you can see, it is facing the Pacific Ocean, and then the Sierra Madre mountain ranges on the south. And it's a very small community, 6,000 population, mostly fishing and farming. So this was the town center after a typhoon. You can see that it's very vulnerable to strong winds and strong waves. So that was then we were tapped by the LGU, by the community, to design a riparian buffer zone. We needed to stretch a very limited budget and accomplish that goal. So an identity of Divilacan is that it is inside the Sierra Madre mountain ranges. So a lot of forests around, but not primarily in the town center. There is also a sizable Dumagat population in the community, and most of the townsfolk are fisher folks and farmers. Ayan. So the first linkage that we needed to establish, that we established with them, was with the LGU, because we needed the counterparting. So we did this through a series of MOAs, talks. Thankfully, our our manager then had already prior experiences with them, so there was that social capital to bank on, and coordination with the Sangguniang Bayan and the mayor. We also coordinated with the Menro for their local experts on what to plant, how to plant it, how to coordinate with the peoples. And because it's very far from everywhere else, most of the materials that we're going to need for the riparian buffer zone has to come from the community. So that's the help of the LGU. Second is Dumagat participation, because they have the local knowledge on what to plant and what not to plant. They're quite experts on that. So we conducted a series of talks, conversations, tambay, workshops with them. We also needed the guidance of NCIP to get the confirmation from the local leaders to confirm to move forward with the project. And then the planting selection, they were the ones who were suggesting and gathering all the necessary planting native plants materials. And to ensure the inculcation of permaculture into the local fabric, we also linked with schools. So we did play and planning and workshops with the elementary school. We conducted several visits. Also had MOAs with the elementary school and the high school. And the students, high school students, were the ones who designed their gardens that you can see later on. So this is Divilacan, Town Center Divilacan, and those are the many different points that we established. So the yellow one is a 2-kilometer riparian bike lane with native plants surrounding the town center to act as a buffer zone. The green ones are the gardens that we established with the students, and the pink one are the designs we made with the LGU that was included with in their CLUP, in their comprehensive land use plan. So to ensure the soft skills and integration permaculture still in their fabric, we helped them push for a forest municipality ordinance to be declared for Divilacan. We also published riparian zone booklets based on our experience with PPA and IPDC. And all the plans that we designed with the LGU, with the community, was included in their club. As it was coincidental that they were writing their club at the same time, so that was nice. So first, the bike lanes that goes around, we cleared, we laid gravel, and we finished the inspection for access. Then we nursery construction for the plants that we're gonna need. We constructed it from local materials. We made compost from the waste of the town. They're quite experts, and Menru and the Dumagas they're the ones who really pushed it and handled it. And they were the ones who native plant selection. So of course, we know agoho, botong palasapis, pero they were the ones who can choose it. They know what are the exotic, they know what is native. So let them be. They're quite great at it. Plant propagation, they're quite experts also. They were prepared the sites and then planted the native tree plantings. That's one agoho, very good. And since our organization has some links, we also had some foreign volunteers come over, and together with local experts and Menru people, we constructed a bridge connecting different parts of our bike lane. And they were the ones, they're quite proud, and it was nice. And to inculcate permaculture and the importance of riparian zone, as the students go around, the townspeople go around the buffer zone, we placed different signages indicating what is the importance and value. Ayan. Those are my teammates. And this is the elementary and high school gardens, all locally sourced, and they were very excited. They really want to garden, kids. And to ensure that permaculture remains, we also put info boards. We also turned over some bamboo bikes for them to enjoy and use and go around the town center and the riparian zone that we made, and rainwater collectors so that watering their gardens would be less of a hassle. And so this is us presenting our designs. This was our team together with the high school students. So that was the Divilacan Riparian Buffer Zone Participative Community Planning with Permaculture and Landscape Architecture. So thank you, everyone. Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Sandino. So I think it's already constructed, right? When was it?
Yes. It was 2017 to 2018.
Oh, have you been there? Have you been there recently or not yet?
No, not yet. The last time was in 2018. 2018. Yes,
Oh,
during
okay.
the phasing out.
But are they still communicating with you, or
The
or
last that we were communicating was in 2019 because of the Dumagats often visit our office when they were going over the Sierra Madre mountain range. They really have to walk. It was quite an intense walk. And they visit us. Ay, kape, coffee, kwento-kwentuhan. It was quite a nice experience. But then our team had to move to Manila. So our Isabela province were the ones linking it out and giving coffees, having talks. And we also displayed some of our products that we received on our local trade outpost, food outpost in our Isabela then permaculture site. Yes.
oh, okay. So for the both of you, I'm just curious. How did you choose or locate the community that you would like to um help out or do the project that you're eyeing on? So I think anyone can go first, or do you want me to call you? Maybe Shashank? I think you. Sorry, you're on mute.
Let me take that first. Sure, thanks.
Okay.
So for us, like I was sharing, a deep relationship and understanding of the community is something that's extremely important, right? So what facilitated the Sanjaynagar Slum Redevelopment Project for us is an organization, that's our social partner on the project, called Snehalia. They're based in the city of Ahmednagar, and they've been working with the residents of Ahmednagar for nearly 2 decades now. They've run after-school education programs for children and youth in the community. But what that helped facilitate was this really strong bond, right? And we were able to come in as people who partnered with Snehalia and leverage from that trust that was built between Snehalia and us. So that was really sort of Snehalia and the community, which was really then sort of transferred to us. So while we would like to, work closer to home as well, it does require, to initiate this process, really, does require a lot of time spent in the community. That's how we worked in Mumbai as well, in the neighborhood where we work. It's not a slum redevelopment project, but a neighborhood regeneration project. But the process is the same, is really spending a lot of time in the community to build that mutual trust and understanding.
Okay. So they're the one who reached out to community agency, right? The partner.
No, I mean, it so happened, we happened to be in Ahmednagar. Sandhya, my senior colleague, who's the founder and managing director, was visiting Snehalia and was taken to the Sanjaynagar slum redevelopment, Sanjaynagar then slum neighborhood by by Snehalia, our partner organization, just for a visit. And that's how the conversation started. Then we got the community involved. And it took a few months of sort of conversations and bringing everybody on the same page to really get the project put together.
Okay. For that, like Sandino, I've seen that the community was really involved in even in the construction. Did for your project also happen to have that kind of involvement, or more of on the planning stage?
Was that for Sandino?
For
Sorry,
you,
Pam.
for you, for you.
For me,
Sorry, for you.
sorry. So interestingly, what we found is in Sanjaynagar particularly, we did try and offer that to the community if they wanted to be part of the construction process. We saw some interest from, depending on, because there are people in the community who don't have stable employment, so they do different kinds of seasonal work. And at times we saw that interest.
Shashank. Sorry, he got lost. Hi, Shashank. Okay, maybe you had it. Okay.
Yeah,
So,
internet
what
connection. Ayun, there we go.
oh, there he is. Hi, Shashank. Are you there?
Hi.
Oh, okay. So how about first? Let me go to you first, Sandino. So how about
Yes.
you? How did you locate or choose your community? Or they're the ones
Yes,
who reached out?
Divilacan. First of all, we coincidentally, like the coincidence with Shashank, one of our recent graduates with PDC is from Divilacan. And because of that, he was sponsored by the LGU. So that was the start of the partnership. So the LGU and us got to talking, ano yung, other projects that can be done. So, and they brought up that idea na the riparian zone. And it was also good that our manager already has visited that site, and already some of our volunteers has already visited the town. So some of our team was already quite familiar with the site. So, and already established some social capital with the local community. So that was the
Okay, so
start.
in your case, the government is also involved in the project, right? The local
Yes,
government, and
very.
they're highly supporting that project, community project.
Yes, one of our most energetic partners and was Kuya Jaime Celeste. Kuya Anto
Okay,
is quite
special
good
mention.
with the people. Special, of course, special mention is quite good, and he really cooked well octopus. So that was my favorite food then. And he communicated with the people, with the Dumagat, with the LGUs. So he has social capital, and that we can all the links that we needed to establish. Along with Ariel Velasco, the PDC graduate that I said, he's a Dumagat who graduated with PDC and linked us with the Dumagat community.
Okay, so I think Shashank is already here. Hello, are you okay?
Yes, sorry,
Are
I
you
don't
good?
know what happened. We
Yeah, it's okay. So go
dropped
ahead.
off.
Kindly continue what you're saying earlier about
I'm sorry, I don't know at what point I dropped off, but I'll just quickly recap. What I was saying was, while interest in being part of the construction process, sort of physically being involved in construction, varied from time to time during the construction process. What the community was very involved in and very interested in was sort of ensuring the quality of construction. So there were daily, weekly meetings on site, because of course this is an in situ slum redevelopment, so the community lives where the construction site is. So they were constantly involved in ensuring everything was done to specification, to their liking. So that kind of heavy involvement was, of course, part of it. And given they were part of, drawing up the plans right from scratch, it was only fair for us to facilitate that kind of engagement with them through the construction process as well.
yeah. Okay, that's great. Actually, so you have the option to get them involved in the construction, and then if they're not interested, it's also okay, right?
Yeah, because the construction at the end of the day was done through a formal contractor,
Mm.
us hiring a formal contractor. So even engaging the community, if they were interested in being part of construction, was getting hired by the contractor, which we facilitated if there was interest.
Okay, that's good. Actually, in the Philippines, we have a similar project. It's under the National Culture and the Arts. So we have it's called Dunti Ang Pook. So it's more of it's a participatory planning involving the communities from the planning
Mhm.
stage up to the construction itself. Since the construction is mainly outdoors or the gardens itself. So they are highly involved and encouraged to join to join that part, since they're the ones
Right.
who's going to use. It's just a matter of something that you did, and then later on you would be taking care of it. So they'll be
Mm-hmm.
the one who will maintain it. So if they did that, so most likely they will take care of that. So somehow
Exactly, exactly.
that's the concept of
For
that.
us too, like I was saying, it's been in a couple of weeks, it will have been 2 years since the community moved into those 33 families moved into the first building. And because of their involvement in the project right from the ideation stage, the kind of care we're seeing the community is taking of the building in terms of daily operations and maintenance, which tends to be a big missing piece, especially in low income communities, because very often they're not even given the tools and the know-how of how this is to be managed, right? But we're seeing the residents in Sanjaynagar are doing a fantastic job. Some of the visuals I showed, the plantations around the building, some of those were planned, but some of those were done by the residents themselves. They've
Mm,
planted vegetable gardens on their own. Um, and they're sort of harvesting that and sharing that within the community. So to your point about people taking care of it and really treating it as their own space and
mm,
their asset, if they've been given that kind of space in the planning and execution process, absolutely.
yeah. So most likely these projects didn't run smoothly, of course. There might have issues and challenges. Can you share us about these challenges, and how were you able to overcome them or resolve them, even with the community involvement? Yeah, maybe Sandino, you can go first.
Okay, sige. First, okay, so community. Okay, I think one of the important things with community is the social capital, that you had enough social capital for them to let you in, let you talk to them, let's have a conversation. So those are the one of the few things that we needed to hurdle first at the start of the project. Thankfully, as I've said, my manager then was Bert Peters, and he already had experience with the community, so he has already some social capital. And one of our IPDC team members also was formerly a barangay kagawad, I think, Kuya Nards,
Counselor.
and he was very good. He was very good with shaking hands, kape, coffee all the time. In the morning, went to visit people. So building that social capital and went to talk to the Dumagats. So that was one of we hurdled the challenge at the start. So even me at Tagalog, going there na maputi, white person, tall, and thin. Okay, landscape architect Sandino, come on in, let's have coffee, go, yes, thank you po. I needed to have several coffee in the morning and the day. So that was nice. And another hurdle that we needed to, because it's very far, so the gravel and the materials we needed to source it up, that it should be locally, and because it's a far off town, they had concerns with gas. So sometimes the delay of the gravel and the delay of the materials were delayed because there was not enough gas. The boat that was bringing the gas inside the town was delayed because of storms, so we needed to wait it out. So it's a lot of waiting game. Unfortunately, we can't do anything about the gas and the
Yeah.
supply. We just have to wait it out, and had enough faith with our local team and us. We're still coordinating until such time that those resources are already available. So that's for me. That's for us.
Okay, so more of the logistics and then socialization, or
Yes.
trusting, letting the community trust you with what you want to share, or what you want to do um,
Yes.
with their
Oh.
community
Yes,
landscape.
and another thing that we identified when we were NCIP, then when the NCIP I entered before then, the Dumagat shared before our meeting with them was there were many previous projects that were promised to them that did not materialize. That it was, we needed to have that conversation that we were promised then, we were promised that, but it did not materialize. So at the very beginning, there were some
Hesitations,
hesitations. I don't think,
resistance.
right? I
Yeah.
wouldn't say resistance. But, yeah, no, it might be the same, that those projects. But what was different with us was, thankfully, one of their Dumagat people was already a graduate of PDC, so he knows what we're talking about, and he's seen our previous projects, so he has that. He can vouch for us, which is good. Yes.
Yeah, I think trust is really important when it comes to involving the community in terms of design and doing the project with them. So, how about you, Shashank? What are the challenges
Yes.
you face?
Sandino, the social capital and the sort of relationship building that you were describing with coffee, for us, it happens over chai, unlimited coffee.
China.
Ah,
Oh,
so, so of course, you know, lots of challenges. Convincing the community was one, right? And there was no amount of, I think, us telling the community why they should come on this journey with us. That was going to work, rather than hearing from somebody who had been through this process. So actually, what we did was we assembled a small committee of representatives from the Sanjaynagar community. We took them to other projects in other cities, which were not sort of necessarily group housing projects, but had followed this participatory approach, to really hear from the residents themselves what it did for them, and what the residents, when residents spoke to residents, that is what really made the difference, and that is where the switch happened. That's when the community, the community was told this is going to be a painful process, but what comes out of it is really a wonderful space that you really own, is our own. And that's what they heard from these other communities where we took them for visits. And it was a similar thing with the government, actually. This is a government, partially a government-sponsored project. It's approved under the Housing for All program of the Government of India. The land that the slum currently sits on is municipal land, so there is government involvement at all levels. But the municipal officers too, those sort of well-wishers, but they were wondering why we needed to even go through this long drawn process of community participation, right? Why, as experts, we couldn't just come in and tell them how this could be best built, how space could be best maximized, and then get it done and get out of there. And so again, for the city as well, for the government officials as well, we had to take them to these other project sites for them to really start seeing the value in that process. And that is what helped us bring everybody on board. There are, I feel like every step of the way, what we started to work on was really uncharted territory. So there have been challenges every step of the way. Some logistical and easy to solve. Some have been sort of not really technical challenges, but more people challenges, behavioral challenges that we've had to deal with. One of the things that was mentioned again in the video was no banks were willing to come forward for lending to the community, because they're seen as sort of what the banks describe as a red zone, where lending is perceived to be extremely risky. And so generally the only kind of institutions that will operate in these areas are very high interest microfinance institutions. And so in the absence of banks, we had to structure a housing finance product with a social NBFC which is a non-banking financial company that does peer-to-peer lending loans, and they were, very kind to sort of take this on as a pilot product for us. And so there have been challenges, all sorts of challenges along the way that we've had to, take on, innovate, address, because we didn't think this is what we set out to do. All the challenges we faced, we didn't quite anticipate everything coming our way.
Yeah. Everything is somehow not according to the plan.
Yes.
And I think involving the community really takes time and patience and a lot of strategies, because it's a matter of you'll be having a relationship, sort of a relationship and partnership with the community itself. Based on I'll just share quickly. So on our experience before, we went to indigenous community. So we're doing the Luntiang Pook, and that was my first involvement in a town, because usually my experience with Luntiang Pook is more on the urban side, and that was the first time that I slept on their in their community. And then actually they're really fond of giving us food. They don't want us to be hungry. So I just took breakfast, and then a few hours after there'll be snacks, heavy snacks. And then actually an hour or so, there'll be another lunch, a meal, and then so on and so forth. So more of the relationship, and then some of them are sharing their stories. So even some of them already messaging me. So like, how are you? Kamusta na po? Something like that. So it really gives you a relationship with the community, and they're trusting you with what you can do for them, or what you can share with them. So I think that having that trust is really important in community involvement. So okay, so just quickly, so for this project, it has been involved in the community itself. So I think, can you just share quickly what would be your dream project on that you'd like to work on before we proceed to the question and answers from the audience? Yeah. So whoever, Shashank, yeah.
I think
Can you-
for us, really, it is to see, and I say us on behalf of sort of my team at Community Design Agency. For us, it is to see Sanjaynagar complete. We've done 1 out of 8 buildings, and we're currently fundraising for the rest. And alongside, we're also working on now building out a financial model that makes projects like these sort of financially viable, blending different types of finances. So really a dream would be to see 5 more communities redeveloped like this. Maybe we do the 5, and then people take it on, and many more projects and community redevelopment activities around the world can happen from this.
Sorry, just a question before I forget.
Yes.
Do you have a project outside India, or not yet? You don't?
Not yet. Currently, our efforts are focused in India.
Okay. Yeah. But are you open to having projects outside?
Absolutely, yes.
Involving different communities. Okay.
Absolutely. We're a small team, but we are very open to exploring opportunities outside of India.
Okay. That's great. So, you, Sandino, what's your dream project?
Dream project. Interesting questions. So I change perspectives now that I'm in the government service now. And so I think my dream project would be to all the lessons that I had the past few years as an NGO, as a business person, and then now as a government employee, is to apply it hopefully in our land use development and infrastructure plan, the LUDIP of Camarines Norte State College. Because previously, I believe that CNSC can really benefit with additional participatory planning, so that the other units of the CNSC don't always have to come here and engineer, can we change this, architect, can we change this. We can already address that in the planning phase, so that all the planning or the participation, they feel included, they feel wanted, and they'll take better care of the site. And all the designs that we're going to include can be pre-planned and pre-included in the LUDIP through the participation that we practiced when we were with Divilacan and the other communities. So LUDIP would be nice. Yes.
Okay, that's great. So, actually, we don't have any questions yet. Is that right? Let me check. No, we have no questions yet. So, I think in this case we're involving the community, uh, those who are uh in need. But I'm thinking, what's your take on private companies doing participatory planning? Because of course, based on your experience, it really takes time, and some developers uh, would consider the community. But what can you say or advise on how they can really involve the users or the community itself?
Um, what we find is oftentimes it is really the community engagement piece that very traditional real estate developers who are looking at just land use and redevelopment sort of in a very traditional sense, that is the piece that they find to be a struggle. And that's what is really the riskiest piece, because if you can bring the community on board, a lot of the other things the developers have a lot of experience with. And we think it adds, from our own experience, we know we're seeing that, and we're proving that it does add a lot of value to what comes out in terms of the final product, right? And to the community as well. So really what we are advocating for is, perhaps philanthropy and impact investment can play some role there, to come in and pick up the tab on that initial community engagement piece that our traditional market economics does not find space for on our Excel sheets, right? The cost of that is something a traditional real estate model is not able to justify. Yet we see it has many-fold returns in terms of social returns and social impact returns that it's generating. So, that's how we see perhaps it being included in a very traditional real estate development project, or with traditional developers, if philanthropy can start to play a role.
Yeah, I agree. Actually, again, it really takes time. And since they're developing large scale of land, it also involves a lot of people to engage, or to at least communicate what possible, what would be their needs. Or I think developers might take on the user's perspective most of the time, instead of the communities who
Right.
are living in that specific area.
If I may add, in terms of the issues you were talking about, right? One of the things we constantly find ourselves doing is almost explaining and sort of educating everybody we're talking to, whether it's potential donors, other government agencies, other communities, or the private sector, is we get asked a lot of questions around why are you making courtyards? Why these rooftop gardens? This is a slum community. You should just give them homes, and that should be enough, right? So the value in that integrated community development, where all of these aspects come together, and what it does for a neighborhood, for the community, I don't think we don't understand it, but I think there is a strong bias in terms of who deserves it and who doesn't, right? And that's I think that kind of change in our thinking and mentality, if you will, is something we find ourselves having a lot of conversations around. That is a huge challenge in doing this kind of work. I think the moment you acknowledge that everybody who's part of a project, whether it's the end user that a real estate developer is going to sell some apartments to, or the community that's living there on the project site right now that you're going to be rehousing as well. The moment you start looking at everybody as an equal stakeholder, I think what's offered to them and what's enough, what's fair, those definitions start to shift a lot.
Yeah, that's very good take on that, Shashank. Thank you for that. So how about you, Sandino? What can you add or share?
Let me see. So I'm not yet sure with the corporate, but when I was part of the provincial council monitoring team for the agri projects of an government agency, we often have to visit their project sites. How was it working? Is it working? How was the project? Was it constructed? Was it constructed well? So one of the sites that we entered, it was a solar pump, I think, for water, for irrigation. It was multi-million pesos na solar pump. And they placed the water pump higher than the lowest water line of their source. So the water pump was not functioning. There's so many solar panels, but the solar pump was not functioning because it was placed higher. And one of the community persons came as lumapit. They came near and they said na kung tinanong lang kami sana, if they only asked us, we would have suggested not to place it there because we know it doesn't work there. It should be there, over there. If only they asked us, but they didn't. So it was.
Right.
That's very problematic. It's a functioning multi-million pesos if they only asked. Wag mahiyang magtanong, as Susan Rosa said. Wag mahiyang magtanong. Yun man lang.
Can you translate that, Sandino?
Don't be afraid to ask. One of the things that I find in communities, if you go here and so many people, so many Filipinos will congregate outside and hello, what's happening? Who are these people? And there will be chismising. Who are these people? Who are they? So if one of the team will just, hi, how are you? We're just here. How are you? Or buy in the local sari-sari store, kamusta? How are you? And they will freely share the chismis, the inside information, which we find very, very useful.
Okay. So, okay. I think there are no questions, right? No questions. So maybe we can move on to actually we would just like to summarize the key points that we had during this discussion. So first is it was mentioned that marginalized communities deserve spaces to live, work, and play. So the involvement of Shashank in the development projects make sure that the marginalized sector have a voice in their rights to have a safe environment to live in. Although it involves a lengthy time to gather community and collaborating with them in gathering information that can be useful to their landscape development or their living area, it's a painful process, but it's really worth it. And participatory planning with the residents is really important, most especially if they're the ones who will live in that space or living space. So another take is that the community and the local knows what's best when it comes to utilizing the landscape, what tree to plant, their native species, where to get the materials, what materials are effective and what are not, what particular location is more effective, and since they're the ones who are living in that space. So um, so something that we should note that when we integrate them in our design planning. So also is bringing in the table the knowledge from the community, and the knowledge as a landscape architect makes a difference to create a design specifically for the target community. And then lastly is challenges can be something technical and dealing with the people, the behavior of the people, the acceptance of the community, to the people outside, or the acceptance to the changes and the participation to the project. Again, community planning and participatory takes um, trust, needs trust from the community itself, and it really takes time to develop the trust from them so that we will be able as designers to do our part and contribute to their well-being. So as we wrap up our event, I would like to extend our heartfelt gratitude to our speakers, Sandino and Shashank, for for this very enlightening discussion. So I hope you were able, the audience were able to learn a lot from this session and apply them in your future projects or future engagements. So I would also like to promote um, that engaging in the community is very important in participatory planning. So um, for us to be able to give them the appropriate space and the things that they really need in their living area. So thank you again for joining us, and maybe we can have we again acknowledge our speakers, landscape architect Sandino and Sashank. Maybe you can have last messages before we end our program. Yeah, first Sandino.
Okay. Okay, so can I promote? Is there time for promotion?
Yeah,
Ayun, thank you
later.
very much.
You can just
Ayun.
give your last messages first.
Okay,
Last
last
thing.
messages. So,
Yeah.
this has been, thank you for the invitation. So, it was enlightening from Shashank, all their experience with urban settlements in slums and converting it into and making it better for the people actually living there. And it was a nice recap din of our experiences. And thank you, Pam, for the sharing of your experiences too. And so I can feel the beat of other landscape architects here in the Philippines. Yes. So thank you again, and hi to everyone.
You can promote your event now.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yes. So, yeah, we need subscribers anyway. So, yeah, this is Bahay Technique for everyone who's interested in appropriate technology and waste recycling. So, that's me and my father. We have a YouTube channel. Check it out. Subscribe, please. We need those. And so we have some short videos. I need to publish that. We have short videos on small space abundant gardens inspired by permaculture, composting different materials from seaweeds to vermi, etc. And we also design brick ovens for permaculture sites. That's a participatory thing also. They get to build an oven from local termite mounds or local clay. It was quite a nice experience. And they get to, after 3 months, they can cook pizza. So that's nice. And I'm also sharing this was
You have a lot of promotions.
yeah, of course.
Okay.
Committed na. So this is PPA, my organization. Then when Divilacan, so they have a PDC. If you're interested with permaculture, you can join them. That was Sir Bert, my mentor in PPA. So from gardening to constructing, it's a chicken tractor with another set of people. And if you're interested in research with permaculture, Permaculture Research Philippines. That's Dr. Jebis, one of our partners also. He has drones, permaculture, all those things in UPOU. And if you're interested learning, we have partnership with UPOU for permaculture systems design thinking. I'm one of the speakers along with Jebis and Bert, where we share these lessons that we have learned. So yeah, thank you for this promotion. Sponsored by
Yeah,
IFLA.
sure. You have a lot of things going on. Okay, how about you, Shashank? Any last messages or promotions?
Last message, just one sort of clarification. We don't call the participatory process painful. It's the communities that have
Oh,
sort
sorry.
of been through this. They described it to each other as painful in the sort of convincing process, right? I think what's really been my learning over the past few years has been, as architects, designers, our training is so, has been in a way that we're expected to walk into a situation and know. And almost, as creative professionals, of course, we also want the license to be able to sort of design, do our thing, leave our mark on any space we work on, right? But I think this kind of work almost requires some unlearning of the way we are taught in schools and colleges, where you have to go in not knowing. You have to step into a community with just a list of questions, with wanting to know rather than wanting to sort of answer and give solutions. And I think that shift in mindset just leads to a lot of possibilities. And it is very, very hard because, we're so sort of hardwired and trained for 4, 5, 8 years, however long we spend in, doing our formal education to know and know that collaboration is not always the easiest thing, and to say we don't know or we'll arrive at this together is not always the easiest thing. But so that's just what I wanted to leave everyone with.
Yeah, I agree with that. Collaboration is really important, and at the same
And
time,
learning and questioning and
yeah.
asking.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, so before we end our program, I'd just like to promote our Facebook page, IFLA Asia Pacific. You can follow us in Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn to have more updates on our upcoming events, partnerships, and articles and other talk and share topics. So for the another promotion is we want to encourage you to volunteer at IFLA-APR for the different committees. So one of the committees is professional practice and policy. So we have a lot of projects lined up. And then other committees are finance and business planning, communications, education, and academic affairs. So just sign up, and when you sign up, there's no commitment yet. Don't worry. You can you can first have a briefing session with our chair, and then decide later on if you really want to join and volunteer. And then we have so for our next upcoming events, next IFLA Talk and Share will be in March. Our topic would be navigating ethics in landscape architecture and tourism. And then we would also like to promote that there will be upcoming APME Awards. So more information will be coming soon. Stay tuned for your emails or follow us in our social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, And then we also have LinkedIn accounts. So I think, okay. So again, thank you for joining us. Again, we acknowledge landscape architect Sandino, Shashank, Mittal for joining our IFLA Talk and Share with our theme, a collaborative vision, the landscape architect's role in elevating landscape developments. We will also like to thank the participants and all those who commented, provided their comments and grateful messages to our talk and share session for today. So, I think that's all. So I have a good night, everyone. Thank you again, Shashank
Thank
and
you so
Sanjay for
much. Just want to
taking
mention,
the
if you want to look up our work, you can find Community Design Agency, our
There,
website,
sorry.
Instagram, all of that. Just Community Design Agency, and you'll be able to find us.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you
you
so
so much.
much. Thank you so much, Pam.
God,
Thank you.
goodbye. Thank
Have
you.
a good evening, Sandino. Bye.
Good evening. Bye.